Broadcast of USL Soccer on the USL YouTube channel. David Gotts and Heath Pierce joining you on this one. It'd be good to be able to learn your name. The New York Red Bulls, too, returning off their fourth road win of the season, starting out the season on the road 4-0, but struggling here at home 1-1-3. On the flip side, Pittsburgh Riverhounds having a tough season, a lot of changes for them over the last week. They come into this one at 1-4-3. Heath, let's start with New York. 4-0 on the road, but 1-1-3 at home. What can they do to bring that road form here to this stadium?
They have to tap into that road mentality and bring it home. Obviously, you play with this sort of extra energy on the road, almost this underdog spirit, and they have to be able to bring that at home in front of their crowd and try to find the rhythm as well as get results.
Now, here's something that's interesting. You look at this team and you look at this lineup here today, and for a lot of these players, it's a first because New York Red Bulls in Major League Soccer played TFC on this field about 45 minutes ago, and a few of these guys, including Sean Davis and Brandon Allen, played in that game. A few more of them warmed up to get ready for that game. Now they have to shift and come and play here. How do you handle that emotionally as a player and physically?
It's difficult. You're waiting for a while. The energy in the stadium's dying down. You have to build that back up. You have to sustain that energy, keep yourself warm, and then stay mentally ready, because it is an hour between the end of the last game and the start of this game. So it can play mental games on you, but these guys are professionals, and they have to learn to be able to adapt to these types of scenarios.
One change to that, Anatola Bong not in the lineup. Stefano Bonomo will be starting up top. Let's look to the other side, though, because John Wolyniec sitting on the bench. On the flip side, Pittsburgh. Dave Brandt, in his first game ever as coach, they let Mark Steffens go last week after a win. You've played on teams with new coaches. What's that first game like? He hasn't had much time. He said he's had 4 training sessions he's liked and 1 walkthrough, but that's just not that much.
It's not very much time, but he comes into this game with a ton of experience as a coach. He's won a lot of games at the multiple levels that he's coached at. So I think for him, it's to just start off that game, keep it short and simple in the way that you preach to your players, and sort of give them the keys to the car to guide him in the right direction so that he can learn from this match and start to implement his style into the players.
Well, we are kicked off here at New York Red Bulls 2, hosting the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, their second and last matchup of the season. New York went to Pittsburgh, got a 3-1 win just a couple weeks ago. Part of that really tough start to the season for Pittsburgh, including 2 weeks ago a U.S. Open Cup loss, the Lansdowne boys, as Stefano Bonomo flashes a shot across the face of goal and out to get this one started. We showed you the lineups. We could talk you through them. Drew Russell at right back. The Jamaican international Sergio Campbell will partner Willie Hunt at center back. Jordan Murrell at left back. In the holding midfields, it's going to be Michael Green and the captain, number 10, Kevin Kerr. The attacking 3, Corey Herzog on the right, Stephen Okai and Lebo Maloto at left midfield. And up top, just 18 years old by himself, Dwayne Ewart. He will try and lead that line, the young player. On the flip side, we showed you New York, but across that back line, Justin Bilyeu, Aaron Long, Zach Carroll, and Conrad Pleva. Sean Davis and Speedy Williams will sit in the midfield, flanked by Noah Powder and Junior Flemings, and Brandon Allen will play just off of Stefano Bonomo up top. Brandon Allen making his Major League Soccer debut for New York Red Bulls about an hour ago. Ran into a post, didn't get a goal, was called offsides, but it's been a big day for him.
Absolutely. He had a huge chance there. He showed his willingness to get in front of goal at that level. And it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts today after being one of these guys who just came off a game, has to stay ready, stay fit. Hopefully he got on the bike or stayed moving, and hopefully puts in a good performance like he did with the first team today.
Now, when you do a warm-up for a game and you warm up hard, and let's say you're going to be the substitute, which means throughout the game you warm up a few more times. After that game, the hour after that game, I mean, does your body start to get cold immediately, or do you have enough time to jump into a second game if you're a guy like him who just played 10 minutes?
My body would definitely tighten up in that time, but he's young. He should have no problem being able to keep his body warm or get his body going again. Plus, he's got a lot to prove, so even if physically he feels like his body's tightening up, he's going to find a way to get going again and make an impact on this game.
Ball knocked down on the top of the box. Handball's called. Great opportunity for New York Red Bulls 2 here to start this match off. We'll have a few people standing over it. Derek Etienne Jr., one of the stars of this New York Red Bull 2 teams, a guy that a lot of times you'd see standing over a set piece like that. He's not here. He's one of the many internationals in USL. He's currently with Haiti, getting ready for Copa America, one of the 5 provisional players along with that roster. If anyone was to get hurt in the build-up to action, he could be one of the guys called up. No surprise to see Sean Davis standing over this one, as well as it looks like the left foot of Brandon Allen. About 20 yards out here on the right side, New York Red Bulls 2 looking for the opening to this one, and Allen hits it off the wall, and it goes out for a corner kick. Early moments here, New York Red Bulls 2 flashing a little bit of offense.
Yeah, looked good from Brandon Allen, and he hit that well. Wall did its job. We got a corner kick here, but it looks like he's already into the game, so hopefully we'll see some more flashes of that.
So it looks like Sean Davis, as you can expect, in any game he's in, will take most of the set pieces. This one comes into the middle of the box. It's headed wide. And a wait there for the assistant referee. And it's called a goal kick. Our head official today, Christopher Spivey. His 2 assistants, Henrik Carlson and Zeno Cho. And the 4th official, Luis Arroyo. Good energy to the building as New York Red Bulls knocked off TFC 3-0. A large amount of USL players getting some action in that one, both for TFC and Mobabuli and Chapman and a few other players off the bench as well as starting. And then, of course, on the New York side, Sean Davis got himself about 20 minutes of action in that one, as did Brandon Allen. Pleva looks to play into the feet of Flemings. Junior Flemings leading USL in assists. So far this season, another international on the field, a Jamaican international like Sergio Campbell, as this ball gets lofted in. Bilyeu looking to keep it alive, and it gets poked away. Coach Brandt coming in, had the chance to watch a few of the games, of course, of the season, and said, when I asked him, what he thought's gone wrong, he said his first comment as Noah Powder gets into the box here, whips across into the far post, just wide of Flemings' foot. Now Pleva on the other side. You can see here Pittsburgh having to defend. He mentioned that their defense was like Swiss cheese, that it was shaky. It wasn't solid enough. As a new coach, is that where you kind of always have to start defensively to try and solidify that base?
If you're going to start somewhere, you want to start in the back, solidify that defense, start to close a lot of those gaps or holes that have been causing some of the goals against that they've been conceding so far this year. And it's obviously a lot easier said than done to fix those types of problems, but being able to recognize those problems and start at that point, I think, is a smart thing.
Noah Powder getting in here, starting at left midfield, the Trinidad and Tobago U20 international. He's played most of the season at left back. Heath Pierce. Noah Powder is a lefty. He likes the ball at his feet. He plays on the wing. We heard that you're a fan of a player like this.
I'm a huge fan of him. Just in the short amounts of time that I've gotten to see him play, he looks great. He looks like a guy who's very, very comfortable on the ball, very clean, attacking-minded. That's the kind of guy that, if he does become a left back, you get him back there early. You teach him the principles of the game so he understands and respects the defensive aspects. Today we see him a little bit further up the pitch, playing more to his strengths, but I do see him long-term being a left back.
When you look at, let's say, a young player who you're trying to pick a position for, what are the things that you look at? First of all, I don't think a lot of people would hear offensive instincts and think that guy's a left back.
Right. You wouldn't naturally think that, but you try to see where these guys can, he can move. He's fast. He's got an athletic ability as well, and you want to be able to tap into that. He's got raw talent right now. What you want to try to do is then hone in that talent and put him in a position where he can play to those strengths and then develop some of his weaknesses. And I think left back will be the best thing for him to play. Left midfield, you have to almost have an extraordinary talent on the ball. He has great talent, but I think he has the most potential to be a left back.
I told Coach Wolenek that you were a fan of his, and he said, I bet. What is that supposed to mean, Heath?
It means that I have a respect for attacking-minded outside backs who are calm on the ball, who aren't always in a rush to get it off their feet, and he's that guy.
Junior Flemings breaking into goal here, rips the shot to the far post and puts it home. Junior Flemings with a goal in 2 straight games. He breaks this one open off the assist from Brandon Allen, and then he rows his way home. New York Red Bulls 2 take a 1-0 lead inside of the first 10 minutes of this matchup against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
This was a fantastic ball from Brandon Allen. He slips that ball through. Great first touch, looks up, finds the keeper out on his line, and places it right next to the post on the back post. And a very, very, well, he made it look simple, but it's a very, very difficult finish to tuck that in next to the post.
And nothing Mauricio Vargas could do about that one on the finish. Junior Flemings has come in late to this season, didn't start the year out with New York Red Bulls 2, was training with both teams off and on, but now is flying, had the game winner at FC Montreal last week to win 1-0 in the 90th minute, and gets the goal this week as well. As we get official confirmation on the goal for Junior Flemings. That's his third goal of the season. Pittsburgh looks to respond immediately, and they hit the base of the post. Corey Herzog on the far side slams the header down and cannot find the goal.
That was a ball he should have definitely finished. I think he'll look back in regret. He was free on the back post and had to just put it anywhere on the goal. Ryan Merritt was pulled to the near post, and you can see it on his face. He wishes that he had that chance again.
This is a Pittsburgh team that coming into the season you expected to be explosive offensively. They were last year. A few guys up topping, Corey Herzog, Libo Moloto, as well as Kevin Kerr, as you see Herzog's chance here.
And that's a fantastic ball to the back post. Conrad Pleva should have been tucked in a little further there with the guy sitting on the back post. That's where you want a guy like Ryan Merritt to be able to organize that. He has experience. He can lead these young guys, organize around you. I know the game happens fast. It's a great ball in, but I think for the back line, they're going to need to sort that out to avoid that happening again.
Drew Russell coming forward, playing that cross in. Russell, a bit of a wandering presence in soccer early on in his career. Went over to Germany and trained as a 16-year-old with 2 different professional teams in the Bundesliga before coming back to the U.S. and playing in PDL as well as college, finally linking up with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Coach Mark Steffens, who was in charge of this Pittsburgh team over the last year and a half, originally with the Charlotte Eagles for a number of years in USL and USL Pro, brought over a few players that he was familiar with once he took over in Pittsburgh, and you can still see those names, of course, littered across the roster. Flemings now trying to get in for a second opportunity, pushed in the back, and the call made pretty easily there by Spivey. So it'll be another set piece for New York. New York drawing 1-1 in their last home game here against Richmond. Heath, they took a 1-0 lead in that game in the second half. They were not able to hold on, giving up a stoppage time free kick. What do you want to see from them over this next 20 or so minutes after scoring a goal in this game to try and finally get a home victory?
They got to keep pushing on. They can't let off now. It's a dangerous lead to have. They're playing at home. They've struggled to get those results at home so far this year. And it's just continuing this way. They don't have to panic offensively or defensively, but make sure, like they are now, set piece, they have 2 guys back against 1 guy. Staying in good defensive positions will keep them in a good place moving forward in this match.
Now Pittsburgh commits everyone defensively. Sean Davis and Bilyeu standing over it. The free kick taken, blasted off the crossbar, still alive for New York before it's finally cleared by Pittsburgh. Justin Bilyeu looking for his first professional soccer goal, slamming that one off the crossbar, and New York still alive offensively. Williams with the shot, and on that far post, it looked like Aaron Long gets a toe to it. It curls wide. Heath, what a free kick here, though, from Bilyeu.
Yeah, it's a fantastic hit. He's got the goalkeeper beat there. Just a little bit unlucky to hit that crossbar. But if I'm him, I'm thinking, give me another one in the next few minutes. I'm feeling good. I put this first one on frame. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. I took a few free kicks in my life, but it's very much so when you feel that clean touch or you get that clean feeling, you want another chance. You want to just keep drawing fouls for me because I'm going to bury one. I never buried one. But
I was going to ask, I didn't want to put you out there.
You know, in training, when I'd get that hot hand, I'd bury him all the time. But it's a different thing to do in a game, and that's a great hit.
Bilyeu yet to score a goal. He's got 2 assists so far this season for this team, and you see that ability to whip those balls in both on shots and crosses have been successful for him so far. Drafted by New York Red Bulls out of SIU Edwardsville, the St. Louis native. Zach Carroll playing alongside him at center back. Carroll also drafted out of Michigan State by New York, cut from the MLS roster, continued training with the team, and then picking up on the USL roster, and now will be part of New York Red Bulls 2 for the rest of the season. As Sergio Campbell blasts one long over the top towards Corey Herzog, and he's a guy I want to talk to you about a little bit because Herzog was drafted by New York Red Bulls 5 years ago, and I just mentioned 2 players who were drafted by New York this year, and both of them are getting heavy minutes, professional soccer minutes. Both of them have played over 500 minutes here with this USL team. You played with Herzog when he first came up, struggled for about 3 years to get any sort of minutes before finally moving out to NASL. What do you think about the difference between the way the professional setup is then and now?
It's such a huge difference. For a guy like that, I trained with him every day, and he was very, very good in training. You saw so much potential in him, but he really had nowhere to play games. We played for a coach at the time that preferred experience over inexperience or any sort of potential because we didn't have time to really develop players. We needed to get results now, and he's the kind of guy that needed some development. He went on loan, did fantastic, but really couldn't find his place back in the team. So with this type of setup now, getting consistent professional games, I would have loved to have seen a young 20 or 21-year-old Corey Herzog in a fold like the Red Bulls where you have a place to get your games week in and week out, get high-level training, and really see what could have been during those developmental years.
Herzog spending time with Orlando City as well as Tampa Bay as Brandon Allen cuts on his defender looking for a teammate, and it's knocked away just before the feet of Noah Powder. We saw Herzog hit the post in this one. Spent 2 years with Tampa Bay as well as a year with Orlando City in USL. Ended up on the Vancouver Whitecaps after New York Red Bulls, on loan with FC Edmonton for a large time in NASL, as you see the replay there of Brandon Allen getting by Willie Hunt but not being able to find a teammate.
That's exactly what you want, by the way, on that replay. You want a guy like Brandon Allen, who's a big body, to hold the ball well, find his space, create little moments for himself. You know he's probably not going to beat you with overall speed, but once he gets position on you, if he can learn to play to those types of strengths, holding the ball, being big, you know, we're going to see some really good stuff from him.
Lebo Moloto awarded the first yellow card of the game. Don't forget, fans, to keep up to date with USL all season long by visiting the new USLsoccer.com for everything you need to know about USL and its 29 teams. You can also become a fan of the USL on Facebook for exclusive league news and interactive content. So Lebo Moloto picks up our first yellow card here in the 15th minute.
I think that yellow card was rightfully so. It was a pretty harsh challenge. I think the ref should be actually proud of himself for pulling out the cards that early, knowing that even though it's early in the game, you don't want to get in the flow of giving yellow cards. When it is something like that, you want to set the tone early. We're not going to let this place be out of control. Set the tone.
And we do have to say, in the last game, these two teams matched up. 2 red cards shown late in the game to Romeo Parks as well as Carl Ouimet, and then I think it went viral around the world. Romeo Parks kicking Carl Ouimet in the back as he walked off the field. We saw Carl downstairs just a couple minutes ago. He seemed okay. He was actually excited to come out, it seemed like, and watch this matchup, but you got to think the referee knows about that. Both teams have discussed it. We'll try and keep the tempers down. These are 2 teams, New York Red Bulls, who haven't been in this league very long, but they beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs here at home last year. So as much as any team in this league, I think there's a rivalry between these two so far.
Absolutely. There has to be a rivalry. That's what those come from. You knock a team out in the playoffs. They're not going to forget that. The next year, they're going to be coming after you. You saw in that into that match, things got heated, and you want things to be intense. That went extremely too far. But you know, you can see in today, the game's getting a little bit physical. But let's just hope that it stays on the good side of that physicality.
Pleva plays the ball back the other way, and from a production point of view, it was tough for Pittsburgh because they lost Rob Vincent, who was second in USL in goals last year with 18 goals, to DC United. And then they bring in Parks, who has 5 goals so far this season, and then they let him go after an incident like that. And they're struggling for goals right now, and they're looking for different things. Uhr is an 18-year-old they're putting up top in this game. Lebo Moloto was a guy they were looking for to goals, but it's tough for a team to adjust to so many moves like that so short.
It's really difficult, but their season hasn't started all that well regardless, so I think it's a chance for them to have a clean, fresh start and hopefully get some results.
Flemings with the cross played in for Bonomo. There's a great through ball from Allen to play that one. This one back towards Allen. He heads it to the far post, and it's taken by Sarvas. Mauricio Vargas, in his third start of the season. The young Costa Rican international, as you see here on the replay. Flemings playing it to Allen on that far post.
I'd say Allen's been pretty good so far. He's active, he's busy in the box, he wants the ball, and obviously he's showing that ability to stay focused with that gap between the game that ended a little more than an hour ago and this match so far.
I was going to ask you, Brandon Allen started this season on fire. There was a lot of expectations from him. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in Georgetown history, a New York Red Bull homegrown player. He started the year 3 goals in the first 3 games, as he's called offsides here. Hasn't scored since then, Heath. We didn't see the same type of performances. He played 10 minutes in this MLS game, and I think these first 20 minutes have been the best we've seen him play in the last 2-3 weeks for this USL squad.
It's the best that I've actually seen the team play or start the match in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But for Brandon, I think it's a huge moment for him. Strikers are all about confidence. They're all about hitting those hot streaks and riding those as long as you can. There's very few strikers in the world whose hot streaks never end, and those are the guys playing at the biggest clubs. But for him, it's about regaining that form, picking up a goal today, maybe 2 if he can, and then starting to build on that and keep that confidence high for a few more weeks.
Also in this game, we do have to mention Allen playing as the withdrawn forward rather than as the lone forward up top. When we were talking a little bit before the game, you played with a guy in Kenny Cooper who I think suffered from having a look that caused people to have certain expectations of him. Brandon Allen maybe in a similar way, as this cross floated into the far post for the Riverhounds and taken easily by Pleva. But Cooper was expected to be a hold-up target forward, and that wasn't his game. Allen, 6 foot, a big guy, muscular guy, but maybe he isn't a lone target forward.
Yeah, typically you tend to judge a book by its cover, right? You have a guy like that who's a big body, and when you get them mad, they become huge. When you have a Kenny Cooper, for example, so often he would drift wide into these other spaces. He was actually pretty good with his feet, but his hold-up play wasn't what you expected from a big 6'2", 6'3" guy who you're like, dump the ball up top to him. Yeah, let him hold that ball up, let him draw fouls, let him play that physical side of the game when it wasn't actually his strengths. And I think if Brandon Allen can learn to tap into that side and add that physicality to his game over 90 minutes, he could be a hold-up striker, but it's yet to be seen.
Pittsburgh will have the throw-in on the far side. New York Red Bulls 2 leading 1-0 here through the 3rd goal of the season for the Jamaican international Junior Flemings, off the assist by Mr. Brandon Allen. Pittsburgh in their first ever game under head coach Dave Brandt, leaving after 7 years as the head coach at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, turning them into a national powerhouse as a soccer team, consistent NCAA appearances for that program, as Flemings looks to play it into the feet of Bonomo, and it's cleared away and out for a corner kick to New York.
This is a guy, Junior Flemings, who I've liked so far this game. If I'm Jesse Marsh right now, I'm watching this game saying, this is a guy, he's fast on the counter, willingness to get forward. I'm going to monitor him and make sure that this guy's getting his chances at all levels. Because right now, so far this game, he's shown a willingness to break out on the counter, which fits right into the philosophy of the Red Bull system.
Sean Davis will take this set piece as well. Number 27. Played to that near post. It's down on the ground. It's still alive. No call made. Flemings looks to take the shot, and it's blocked. Falls out to the feet of Powder. Davis will put it back in immediately. Willie Hunt will get it under control and get it to the feet of Okai. Stephen Okai playing a bit more advanced in this game, ahead of Green and Kerr. He's normally been the more defensive midfielder. Coach Brandt seeing some different things, and you got to think his first game, he's going to adjust things even in game as he sees the players react and New York react to what he's trying to do.
It's such a fine balance for a new coach. You don't want to overcoach or get to the point of all these players who have been putting in this shift all season long, and you come in and sort of make them feel incompetent, right? You want to ride that line a little bit between coaching and allowing the players to do what they know how to do.
This ball over the top for Bonomo, he's called offside. When a new coach comes in, especially for a team that's 1-4-3, things have been tough. How much does the environment change? Is it a chance? Is everyone nervous saying, well, moves are being made, things are changing, or is it a chance for a fresh start?
Guys are nervous. They're going to look to their coach. They're going to see his body language. They're going to see the ways he delivers a message. Is he confident? Does he know what he's talking about? Does he have a plan? And once guys buy into that, that's when things start to really turn around, and hopefully that happens sooner than later, right?
And Coach Brandt comes from his alma mater, D3 Messiah College, which was a national powerhouse. He was 4-time NSCAA Coach of the Year there. Went to the Naval Academy for 7 years, turned them into a strong NCAA team, including a couple MLS draft picks, guys like Joseph Greenspan. And now he comes here to his first professional job. We talked a few weeks ago, and you mentioned the coach that you most respect was your college coach. How different is it, though, from college to pros? How much is his approach going to have to change?
Well, he's dealing with men now. He's dealing with men who have opinions and have beliefs. It's not always young guys who are moldable. There's going to be some guys that are stuck in their ways. You have to learn to be able to recognize how to get the most out of all your players while still treating them all equal in front of the group.
When you moved as a player, did you feel like the coaching was much different from college to the professional ranks?
Absolutely. There's a lot more at risk in these types of games, right? College, you play Friday, you get to play again on Sunday. Situations like that, you always get another game, and it's not the end of the world. You're very rarely in a high-pressure environment. And if you're coming from a college where you're a starter, the rosters aren't very deep, right? So you can make those mistakes. I remember at times I tried to never take plays off or take training sessions off or ever let down, and I feel like those are one of the strengths that helped me move to the next level. But there are times that you know how comfortable you can be. And in these environments, you hope that you have enough depth in the roster that you have to prove yourself day in and day out.
Pittsburgh enjoying a decent spell in possession here as we're just north of the midway point of this first half. David Goss and Heath Pierce here at Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. It's about 85 degrees and humid, even though the sun set 2 hours ago. But these players are fighting through it. New York Red Bulls, too, with a early 1-0 lead through the goal by junior Flemings. As we have a free kick coming here for New York. Nike is a proud partner of the USL. Follow at Nike Soccer on Twitter for all the latest Nike Soccer information, or you can go to nike.com/soccer. And you can follow at USL on Twitter to keep up with all of the live action during the 2016 USL season. You can also follow NYRB2, that's 2 I's, on Twitter as well for all of your news. A new signing this week, David Najem signing a Red Bull Academy kid out of Columbia University. He got his debut last week against FC Montreal, and we might see him off the bench here this afternoon. It'll be Sean Davis with the free kick. Right-footed service floated into the far post. It bounces through everyone and stays inbound before it's finally taken over by Vargas. Green here in the midfield.
And that's a quality ball to the back post on the replay here. Forces the keeper to freeze. If you can get a guy, just get his foot on the end of that, you're really, really going to put the keeper in a bad spot.
Kerr looking for the long, direct ball over the top. Pittsburgh Riverhounds looking for what would be their second win of the season here on the road. 1-3 last year against New York. New York seemed to feel very comfortable in the matchups between these two teams. Offside call in favor of New York. New York currently sitting in third place in the Eastern Conference with 2 games in hand over first place Louisville City FC. If they could get a win here tonight, they would move to second place, jumping FC Cincinnati, and would sit 3 points behind Louisville City FC. Sean Davis works the ball around the back. Davis is a guy more experienced than a lot of these players, 3 years in college now. This is his second year in the professional ranks, has played both with New York Red Bulls and New York Red Bulls too. What have you seen from him being a part of this team? You said this is the best you thought they'd start. How much of a part of that has he been?
He's just confident. He's comfortable. You can tell he has natural leadership qualities. He's a competitor. And those are the types of things, you can keep a guy on the field like that game after game, it's only going to help your team build that core strength and unity and confidence that you need to really get consistent results.
So it'll be another corner kick. Set piece after set piece so far for New York. And once again, it'll be Sean Davis. Right-footed service, and Vargas takes it pretty easily. New York, numerous opportunities off set pieces. What do you think so far about what they've been able to do?
But that last corner kick wasn't a strong one, played right into the keeper's hands. He handled it comfortably. But some of the set pieces from the side, the free kick from about 20 plus out, they've been strong, and I think that they need to keep trying that. We saw earlier today, we saw a Champions League final. We saw goals even at the highest level of a game being scored on set pieces. And no matter what level you play at, set pieces are so important to the game. And if either of these teams can learn to capitalize on those, it's going to help them get results.
Some opportunity to get on the ball in the final third here for Pittsburgh. Moloto pushes it out wide. Cross played into the far post. Ryan Mira out, collides with his own defender, and eventually able to get it under control. We talked about Ryan Mira as an experienced goalkeeper having to manage that back line. It was almost a dangerous collision between him and his teammate.
Yeah, it was, but you saw him come out of it calm, and he kind of one hand catches the ball after that moment, kind of showing that, all right, guys, we had almost a little moment here, but everything is fine. It's okay.
Sean Davis now down behind the tackle. We've seen not a dirty, but a physical game so far here at Red Bull Arena. Now a stoppage with this injury. You see Sean Davis down on the ground. 3-year player at Duke University, a Red Bull Academy kid. Played in the residency program with the U.S. team. See that tackle, a tough tackle coming in on his ankle. But you mentioned how calm he is on the ball. He has shown an ability to step up level to level. He was the catalyst in the victory for a lot of the young players against Chelsea last year. He just seems, with his composure and ability on the ball, to really have a limitless ceiling in terms of his professional career.
Yeah, he's just so self-confident and comfortable that you would think that he's played a couple hundred professional matches already. He's calm, he's relaxed, he's directing players, moving players around on the field, and that's exactly who you want in your midfield when a lot of your players lack experience.
Pittsburgh sitting deeper defensively here. Coach Brandt, talking to me before the game, said from an offensive point of view, he wants to change the way that this team plays a little bit. He has a different philosophy. He called it vertical football, but he said it's similar to what New York has built at the MLS and USL level, a high press system, a system that's aggressive, that keeps the ball on the ground but continues to attack and take advantage of openings. So maybe the Pittsburgh fans getting a little bit of taste in watching New York and what their team will look like over the next few weeks or months.
It's a great system. It's a great philosophy. That requires those players to buy into the system. You cannot have one player in your squad that doesn't understand when you press, doesn't understand where he has to be defensively, doesn't understand when we win the ball, what happens next. And that's a learning process. And if he can implement that, not only will they get results, but it's a pretty entertaining style of play as well.
All USL matches are available live, free, and in HD on YouTube. Follow the action on the USL YouTube channel. And, of course, you can stick to NewYorkRedBulls.com for all home New York Red Bull 2 games, as well as all of your news and notes on New York Red Bulls 2. The remainder of New York Red Bulls season will be played here at Red Bull Arena, but next year they will be moving to Montclair State University, helping renovate and build up a brand or a renovated, newer facility, which could be a hub for soccer in the area. Capacity of between 4,000 and 5,000 people for Red Bull US Open Cup matches, PDL, Red Bull Academy, Red Bull 2, as well as soccer in the area. It's a very exciting project that's opening up here. This one's played long by Carol Bonomo with the knockdown. Brandon Allen trying to get on the end of it, and he loses possession, and Sergio Campbell picks up the ball. Campbell, graduate out of UConn, drafted in the first round by Columbus Crew just a year ago, only made one MLS appearance, but he's got 2 full caps for the Jamaican national team. Here's a cool little fact. His uncle, Rodolphe Austin, the captain of the Jamaican national team, they got the chance to play together with the Jamaican national team. How cool is that?
That's really cool. None of
your family?
None of my family played soccer.
Well, I can one-up you on that.
Really?
Including myself, no one in my family played soccer because you were a professional soccer player. One person in your family did.
I was. I just didn't have. I'm pretty sure 2 of my uncles still don't know any of the rules of soccer, but they kind of live. They enjoy their off-the-grid lifestyle, so I won't be getting to create those unique stats for myself.
It's not like Mike Francesa where they actively dislike soccer. They just don't know anything about it.
Yeah, they don't actively like or dislike soccer. They, sure they've heard of it.
Well, here at New York Red Bulls, we are fantastic soccer fans. We love the game every way you can get it. Heath even watched the Champions League final today. Credit to you. I don't know how you stomached it when you have something like this on display that night. This is our 3rd soccer game of the day.
It is. Actually, 4th.
Championship playoff?
Yes.
Wow,
yeah.
super fan. New York Red Bulls 2 getting the second half of this doubleheader. New York Red Bulls knocking off TFC 3-0 in the opening game. Brandon Allen and Sean Davis appearing in that one. And now they are back out and at it again as we are about 35 minutes in to the first half here. New York Red Bulls 2 leading 1-0 through the goal by Junior Flemings as Sean Davis jogs over.
And speaking of games being played today, U.S. Soccer played today, and that is what a lot of these guys are aiming for in their careers, right? They want to be not playing here tonight. They'd rather be representing their national team, and I think that's the goal. And with all these systems that are being built up, all these places where players can develop and play, we're going to really see a crop of talent coming through all different levels. We're seeing guys not just playing abroad getting call-ups to the national team, not playing in MLS getting call-ups, guys from every league, other leagues in the U.S. getting calls up to the national team, and that just speaks loads about the developing and growing talent as well as the resources for players to find places to play and develop.
Sean Davis with that free kick, with that corner kick taken and knocked down. Check out @USL on Instagram to see match highlights and action shots from games around the USL. Brandon Allen tries to get on the end of this. Mauricio Vargas boots it clear. Sean Davis went to the residency program when he was in high school. You were part of that program as well. The idea now is to have 40 or 50 Bradentons around the U.S. because of the professional clubs. And you look at teams like the Richmond Kickers bringing academy players and New York Red Bulls too bringing academy players to these first-team games. Can you imagine being a part of that when you were in high school?
It's incredible. I was actually just down in Houston a few days ago and got to sit down with DeMarcus Beasley, who's played 100-plus games with the national team, played all over the world. What's that?
You get a diamond watch when you play 100 games.
I don't think they do the watches anymore. I think they do these
because most of
they do the hat. It's like a cap.
Like an actual cap?
Yeah, but like a hand-stitched cap, because I think they realize most guys have nice watches who've gotten 100 games for the national team. They probably have a few Rolexes already. But I think they've switched because we played against Argentina back in 2008. Casey Keller was given his that day, and he was given this really cool, unique hat in a case. But we spoke to DeMarcus, and he was also in that program, and I said, could you imagine getting to stay near home and develop and have all these places where you have to go instead of going to one place where it was what we thought was the 18 best players in the country, which couldn't have been true because there's no way of knowing that, right? And now you have these locations all over the country building out these abilities to have academies and start recognizing talent and developing talent with not just recognizing and developing, but also having more experienced coaches to teach that stuff, which is so important. You can have all the most potential in the world, but if nobody can teach them, we're in trouble.
Talk about youth players, not just the U.S. Derek Etienne Jr., Haitian full international now, or potentially over these next few days. Out of the Red Bull Academy, Noah Powder, Trinidad and Tobago Youth International. Mauricio Vargas, goalkeeper for this Pittsburgh team. The Costa Rican U17 and U20 World Cup starting goalkeeper, alongside players like Joel Campbell and whatnot. There are a lot of young international players throughout USL right now. And these academies are starting to churn out some talent, and it's impressive to watch. New York signing 7 homegrown players in the offseason, some still with the team. Some have moved on to other professional opportunities.
But the big thing there that you're talking about is that some have moved on to other opportunities, right? The first batch of homegrown players that were happening in Major League Soccer, it was like you had 1 year or 2 years to prove yourself, and then there was nowhere to go. Now there's so many places to go, so many more teams and so many more opportunities that might be the right one for those players. And I think that's a unique thing that's happening here.
The U.S. soccer pyramid getting bigger and bigger. A few new teams named in USL this week. Nashville and Reno will be joining the ranks. Reno releasing their new crest. Still details to come on some of the other teams, but of a lot of excitement across the country. A lot of different soccer and a lot of excitement here because New York Red Bulls 2 are leading 1-0 against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Looking to get their first home victory in quite a while as Davis gets the foul called in his favor, and looking to move into second place in the Eastern Conference. Once again, it'll be Sean Davis on the service. He's going to be pretty good at it by the end of this game. If we were Alexi Lalas, we'd use a certain term for this set piece bonanza, but I'm not going to use that term because I don't have it copyrighted and I don't have the professional background to say anything like that. As there's now a quick conversation.
These are the free kick reps that you want. You can practice these in training all you want, but it's not until game time that things are different.
Sean Davis over this one. Curls it in, dips right at that PK spot. Still alive for New York. Pittsburgh trying to clear. Hunt gets his head to it. Williams closing on the top of the box, gets it to the feet of Carroll and all the way back out to Powder. Speedy Williams out of Robert Morris University. Pulling the strings there in the midfield, number 80. New York calm and composed as Pittsburgh pushes out their lines. Moves high up the field. Ryan Mira going over the top towards Bonomo, and it's taken by Vargas. Now, I don't want to sound harsh in any way, but you look at the NBA and you're a professional athlete. You shoot 87% from the free throw line. If you're taking set pieces, let's say corner kicks, shouldn't you be beating that first man at least 50% of the time?
You would think so, but I watch games all the time at all levels, and it blows my mind, guys who cannot get that ball over the first man. Practice 20, 30 times every day. Swing that ball in. You have these stationary walls you can set up there. Work on that, practice, and try to implement that into games because it can make such a difference if you can whip in a dangerous ball and put your team in a position to score goals.
Heath, let's make it a movement. First of all, putting men on the post defending a corner and then putting in a quality cross on corner kicks. If that was my life's work in U.S. soccer, I think it would be worth it. Fans, don't forget New York Red Bulls 2. Next home match is Thursday, June 9th, as Harrisburg City Islanders come to Red Bull Arena, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For tickets and more info, log on to NewYorkRedBulls.com or call 1-877-727-6223 today. That's 1-877-727-6223 today. Or you can log on to NewYorkRedBulls.com. I'll be here as always. Conrad Plaver with the ball played in. Brandon Allen gets a touch to it. It hits off of Sergio Campbell, and it's taken by Vargas. Another dangerous set up for New York Red Bulls 2 in this first half.
But again, that all started with hold-up play from Brandon Allen just over the half line, lays it off, spins out, they build up a counterattack, gets back in the box. That willingness to do the work, do the dirty work, like holding the ball up or laying it off when there's a guy right up your backside that's really trying to, probably hurt you and put his feet into your boots into your ankles. It's a great play.
And this isn't an easy matchup. Sergio Campbell, UConn born and bred. We know how tenacious their defenders are. Jamaican full international, I already said. Played for Columbus Crew SC last year, has a ton of experience in that central back role. As a free kick will go in favor of New York. And then right next to him is Willie Hunt, 28 years old, has played professionally since 2011 in the NASL as well as USL with Atlanta Silverbacks, Tampa Rowdies, and Pittsburgh Riverhounds. So not an easy matchup for a guy in his 9th professional soccer game, or I guess 10th because he's played 2 today.
Definitely not an easy match. And you can see the team, Pittsburgh, starting to drop back deeper on the field. They're defending a pretty low line, which is trying to mitigate any risks of a high press, right? You can tell the coach wants to be able to high press and win the ball up the field, but it is a process. You have to figure your players out, which players fit into that type of system. So you start by trying to minimize any sort of major risks, and that's that ball over the top or into channel. So sitting back, block off those holes, and hopefully spring out on the counters.
Speedy Williams now with acres of space thanks to that. Picks his head up, plays it down the line to Bilyeu. Bilyeu curls that cross in. It takes a deflection immediately, and it floats out for what should have been a corner kick, but it's called a goal kick. And we have no problem with that. Of course, as you always say, the referee is always right.
100% of the time. Never experienced any situation in my career or otherwise where the referee got it wrong.
Last minute of the first half, Coach Brandt in his first game, what do you think he's going to be saying going into the locker room with his team?
I think he's probably going to say to keep it tight. There's no reason to be negative at this point. The Red Bull 2s, they started the game strong. They've springed out on the counter since then, but there's not been a whole lot of things to complain about other than the goal against. There's been some set-piece opportunities. But outside of that, some positives to take from this half.
On the flip side, we saw Coach Wolenek down there on the right side as Bonomo plays that cross and it's out for a corner kick. What do you think Coach Wolenek will feel about this first 45? But also, as 1 minute of stoppage time is added, even more importantly, how they can maintain this and try and get a win in the end.
This is where the leadership from the players on the field is going to come in. I think he's going to talk to Sean Davis. I think he's going to talk to Brandon Allen now, who just played his first game, and said, keep this team together, keep them disciplined, make guys continue to think. You can tell that they have control of the game, and that's when most players shut off, especially inexperienced players. Davis
to take the corner kick once again. This one at the near post. It's headed by 2 Riverhounds players. Falls to Aaron Long. His header goes over the top. It looks like Sergio Campbell is down. Coach Wolenek, in his second year as a full head coach, took this team to the playoffs last year. And this was a team that, when we came into the stadium on the first day, they didn't have a full roster. Guys came in and out. Stefano Bonomo, who ended up scoring 3 goals for them over the course of the end of the season, didn't come in until July. There was a lot of upheaval. Wolenek, a guy that you played with and knew, and he's been able to transition pretty comfortably into the coaching role, especially with this tough system of having young players and veteran players and trying to merge them.
It's extremely impressive, the success he's had so far. And that success, yeah, it's not a championship, but it's making it to the playoffs. And like you said, didn't have a full roster, is working with a roster of guys going up and down, managing that roster, as well as trying to develop these players to be able to get enough results in that very, very first season. It's hard enough to build a team from scratch in that first season, let alone manage a roster of 40 players, including guys who are moving up and down from the Red Bulls. And it's at least a great start for him as the head coach.
On the flip side for Pittsburgh, they came in here last year, lost in extra time in the playoffs, 4-2. Willie Hunt actually had 1 goal all of the regular season last year, scored 2 in the playoffs. It was a wild game. Extra time is always fun. We are into stoppage time now, 2 minutes of what was going to be a minimum of 1 minute, but Sergio Campbell We're happy to see being able to get up and walk off the field. New York Red Bull fans littered around the stadium. An opportunity to catch a doubleheader, which is like the American dream, really. You get a hot dog, you get to sweat in the 85-degree humid weather, and you get to watch two of the same thing, which is awesome.
Absolutely. You can tell that all these people here are so excited. 2 games,
Yeah.
right? You get to see the future of your system, and you get to also you get to start to see that implementation of top to bottom, that philosophy.
Yeah, a club is a family, and New York Red Bulls, too, are happy right now. A 1-0 lead. Junior Flemings, his 3rd goal of the season, back-to-back goals in 2 straight games. On this one, the assist from Brandon Allen and Coach Wolenek will be pretty happy with what he's seen so far. On the flip side, Pittsburgh Riverhounds only trailing 1-0 going into the locker room, and Coach Dave Brandt's first ever game as the head coach of Pittsburgh Riverhounds. We'll be back in a few minutes with your first half recap, first half highlights, and all of your second half action here on NewYorkRedBulls.com. David Goss and Heath Pierce here for NewYorkRedBulls.com and on the USL YouTube channel at Red Bull Arena. New York Red Bulls 2 leading Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1-0 through the goal by Junior Flemings. Heath, it was an eventful first half, a lot of set pieces for New York, but you felt like this was one of the best 45s, opening 45s you've seen New York play all season.
Yeah, they only gave up one chance on the back post. Fortunately, they didn't get punished for it, but they've really controlled this game. There hasn't been a ton of action, but set pieces have been good. They've created a few chances behind the back line, and I'm pretty impressed.
Well, you can watch this game as well as all USL games free live in HD on the USL YouTube channel. And we're going to be back and look at a couple of those first half chances in just a few minutes here on NewYorkRedBulls.com. David Goss and Heath Pierce back here in Red Bull Arena. I'm just so starstruck by being with you. but I have so much trouble saying your name. New York Red Bulls 2 leading the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1-0 through the goal by Junior Flemings. And let's look at those first half highlights, and let's see, Heath, how New York Red Bulls 2 got this done.
Brandon Allen gets behind the back line. Great first touch, and literally just tucks it into the back post. Makes it look very easy, but I can assure you, even though I'm left-footed, I would have struggled to finish that chance.
It's not a huge window, but like you said, made it look easy. Nothing Vargas can do, and then it's dancing time. Almost a minute later, Pittsburgh had a chance to tie it. Corey Herzog bashing it against the post.
Yeah, Corey Herzog's free on the back post. He had to put it anywhere on frame, misses it. And then we have a great free kick opportunity here. Hits the crossbar, so close to being what I would think is goal of the week, but didn't actually go in.
So New York Red Bulls 2 now coming out here in the second half. 2 substitutions already made. Dan Metzger and Zumana Simpara have checked in for New York Red Bulls 2. And as we mentioned it, New York Red Bulls knocking off TFC here on this field just about 2 hours ago. And some of these players warming up and playing in both games. And so some rotation necessary to keep those players healthy as New York Red Bulls 2 look to maintain their momentum here in the second half against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Ryan Meara, you see, back in goal for this one. So it looks like it'll be Sampara for Brandon Allen, as you'd expect, and Dan Metzger for Sean Davis. So the 2 guys who already played in a game today get 45 minutes, but I think you'll feel it's a positive 45 minutes for both Brandon Allen and Sean Davis.
He didn't get the goal that he wanted, and I'm sure he'll be disappointed. Had a big chance in the game earlier today. Created some chances here, had the assist on the goal, so I think for Brandon Allen, he should be definitely satisfied with the way his day ended.
Bonomo jumping on the end of that ball. Losing possession, Willie Hunt with the clearance. Uart chasing there. Dwayne Uart, the young Canadian Youth International, one of 2 Canadians in this starting 11 for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Drew Russell as well. Ball over the top, and it's saved by Meara. The second opportunity now for Herzog, and it's once again saved by Ryan Meara. Corey Herzog, we just watched the highlights, hit the post in the first half, in on goal here in the second half, and can't get the finish.
That might have played to the strengths of Meara there. They played together before here at the Red Bulls. Yeah, gets in behind. Can't tell if it's offside. Hits it well, but Meara stays big. Makes him have to make a great finish. And then goes for the second one, tries to look the shot away, do a no-look shot, and can't finish it off. It's 2 huge saves from Ryan Meara.
Kevin Kerr now standing over this one. Pittsburgh's had 2 or 3 great chances to tie this one up. Almost a third one there off the head of who else but Willie Hunt. New York Red Bulls 2 are clinging on to this 1-0 lead here at Red Bull Arena.
These are the moments that you need your team to just calm down. The Riverhounds have gotten a chance at the start of the half. I'm sure the coach said right at the start of the half, come out strong, don't let back. They've given up a chance here. Don't get shaky, and just don't lose that confidence that you had in the first half. But Pittsburgh Riverhounds coming out strong here, so hopefully they'll put together a better second half.
Hunt slammed down to the ground there by Pleva. Probably fortunate to avoid a yellow card on that one. Conrad Pleva, USL Team of the Week this week with his assists from Montreal. We've seen him play central midfield, center back, right back, and left back for this team. At some point, you want a player to specialize, or is it enough to be a utility guy to help you fit into any team around you?
Well, you want a guy to eventually, you don't want to become a guy who's a floater player. You become a utility player, and that guy who nobody really relies on to be the guy for that position because you're so valuable to every position. So you fill those positions knowing that you don't have to go and find 3 players because this guy can cover in 3 positions, and that's a great asset to be, but for a player, sometimes that can work against you.
I think a name that comes up with that conversation is Brad Evans, who's done so well, but at the same time will struggle at times to get into the healthy starting 11 because he floats around in so many positions, including with the U.S. national team. Opportunity coming here Kerr standing over this one with Murrell. Kerr takes it right-footed after stepping over it. It's headed away. Pittsburgh now maybe a chance to get a second bite at it. It's stolen away. Simpara back on the break. The young Malayan player. Noah Powder down the wing. Looking for the shot off the hands of Vargas, up over the crossbar and out for a corner kick.
It's a great little build-up play. Great pressure to start that attack, forcing a defensive error.
Zumana Simpara, just 18 years old, out of Mali, signing with New York Red Bulls too, just about a month and a half ago. You can see the potential there, but long, lanky, hasn't really hit the weights yet and hit the gym, and starting to develop in his New York Red Bulls 2 career. With Sean Davis out, Speedy Williams now takes over the corner kick. Plays it over the top of everyone into the far post. Conrad Pleva with the strike on top, and he puts it wide of that goal.
Conrad Pleva hits that shot, and the odds are very low of that going in, but I've always been a big fan of bringing that situation to a conclusion. You're going to make about 7 guys who want the ball in that play upset, but that's going to prevent a counterattack from happening. You try to chip that ball in or complete some sort of pass in tight spaces, they're out on the counter, and that's when goals are scored.
Vargas clears it the other way. As I mentioned, born in Costa Rica, grew up right here actually in New Jersey. Grew up right around Harrison, New Jersey, before eventually going and attempting to play professionally down in Costa Rica and ending up in college in Kansas, playing at Barton Community College, and finally for FC Wichita in the semi-pro ranks of U.S. soccer. Vargas now in his first season with Pittsburgh. I mentioned U20, U17 World Cup. Grew up right around the corner in Somerville, New Jersey, as did many of these New York Red Bull 2 players. Long switch of the field there for New York. The other substitute that came in besides Simpara, Dan Metzger, tore his ACL last July with this New York Red Bull 2 team. As a great ball clipped in there by Flemings. Now Metzger closes on it. He's able to win the initial header, but the foul called against him in the collision with Green. Metzger tore his ACL last July, made his return earlier this year, got the game-winning goal in just his second start of the year against Wilmington, down in Wilmington. And he was a guy that was supposed to be a part of U.S. Olympic qualifying, got the injury. It was a very tough situation for him, but he seems to have that will, that personality to respond and continue to push his career forward.
Anytime that you have any sort of serious injury, there's so much more that goes into it than the physical rehabilitation. It's a mental game. You have to learn to trust your body again and your abilities. You can see the way that he's moving. He's high energy. He's confident again. And it's always a great sign for a guy who's coming back from a period of absence.
Metzger was a Red Bull Academy player, went to University of Maryland, entered the MLS Super Draft, was actually taken by New York Red Bulls rival DC United. Didn't sign a professional contract and ended up here as one of the early signings of New York Red Bulls 2 right off the bat. He's a player that was in good standing with Andy Herzog and was looking at a potential opportunity to go to be a part of that Olympic qualifying, although, of course, you'd love the experience, but it didn't go very well for that team.
It's definitely a level of concern having not qualified for the last couple Olympics at that level.
I don't want to call you out, but did we have a conversation with you, me, and Luis Robles where you said something like that, and Robles said, weren't you a part of Olympic qualifying?
I wasn't actually.
Oh,
I was born in '84, and that was the Olympic qualifying was the '85s. I did tell you the story though of how I thought I was going to the Olympics. Then the coach told me I was going to the Olympics, and then ultimately just never called me again. He was like, hey, let your club know. I was playing in Germany at the time. So let your club know. Start to get clearance for this Olympics. You know, we're gonna take you as one of the 3 overage players. I said, oh, I was so excited. And then he just never called me again.
What's
that?
To go to Beijing?
Yeah.
It's a good city.
That was a team that actually did qualify for the Olympics.
Quite a good team. Sasha Kleshtin, part of the New York Red Bulls as well, was part of that Olympic team.
Dax McCarty.
Another guy, part of New York Red Bulls, that was part of that team. As a free kick goes here again in favor of Pittsburgh. A very well played, but at times physical first half. 9 fouls called against Pittsburgh in the first half, 0 against New York. New York now 2 or 3 against them, trying to make up that number. That's quite a differential, though.
That is. They're playing away from home. They're not going to let anything go through easy. Like I said, they sat back in the first half and tried to kill any sort of rhythm that the Red Bull 2s could create. And sometimes that requires some fouls. And they did just that. Fortunately for the Red Bull 2s, they were able to get a goal, though, in the first half. And that's
Junior Flemings, the lone strike so far, off the assist from Brandon Allen, who made his Major League Soccer debut. He was the 317th New York Red Bull player in New York/Metro Stars history with his debut this afternoon. Posters of many of them down in the hallway, the legends of New York Red Bulls, including a certain MLS All-Star standing next to me right now. It's always a nice sight to be standing next to you and looking at you on the wall.
I took a picture of that picture before they take it down, so I have proof that I was once up on a wall here.
Okai to Lebo Moloto. Moloto floats that one, and it goes just wide. Moloto is a player, South African descent, coming in to Pittsburgh last year, and talking to the, at the time, head coach Mark Stevens, he said, at times we just call him Magic because he has special feet. He was a player that everyone was extremely excited about. After finishing school, he was drafted by the Seattle Sounders in the supplemental draft at a Lindsey Wilson College. Actually went back, played a little bit professionally in South Africa, and came here. We haven't had the opportunity to see him much on the ball. How tough is it for those creative attacking players when you don't get a lot of touches to take risks to still be able to do something special?
So often you'll see guys who really understand what that is as a creative player. If they haven't touched the ball for a while, they'll drift all the way back as far as they have to go to make sure they're staying connected to the game, and they'll go and get those few touches just to make sure that they're staying involved, staying active, and not losing that mental and physical connection to the match.
Huart throws that ball back, played at the far post, and the header on the far stick from Russell just wide of the post. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, another great opportunity to tie this game at 1-1.
Yeah, it's a great first-time cross to the back post. Sits up in the air a little bit, but there's 2 players sitting on the back post free, Kevin Kerr and Russell probably wishes he had that chance back as well to be able to take that opportunity again and level the score line for his team.
82 degrees right now up here in the high levels. Humid as well, but these players fighting through it as Russell's able to get back up and make his way up the field. Drew Russell put in the cross for Corey Herzog's opportunity in the first half. That banged off the post, gets that opportunity here in the second half. If Pittsburgh keeps putting together chances like this, we saw it against Richmond. Richmond fought for 90 minutes, got the equalizer in the 90th minute of that game. It looks like Pittsburgh might be going in a similar direction with all the opportunities they've been able to create here in the second half.
Yeah, and what the Red Bull 2s want to be able to do is spring out on the counterattack. The guy who was trying to finish on that back post is the right back, which means there's a hole somewhere on that field because that's coming from a left midfielder to a right back who's in the box, which means they're starting to take more and more risks. And either they're going to punish the Red Bull 2s by sending numbers forward, or in return they can punish this team from taking too many risks. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out over the next 20, 30 minutes.
New York Red Bulls too with the high pressure, and they get called for the foul. Speedy Williams.
Here on that
Nicknamed
replay
Speedy.
there, by the way, that was a pretty two-foot challenge from Metzger there.
Yeah. Picked up a yellow card for that. Maybe a little bit fortunate that it was just a yellow. So that one bounces out of bounds. We appreciate you being here with us for late night USL soccer, 11:20 p.m. Eastern time, the local time. We'll try and give you the sultry tones of the USL game as Drew Russell pushes forward, rips the shot, but low and on the ground.
Very Spanish league like to have a 10 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me one time. What was the latest kickoff local time that you ever had?
I would say for sure playing in Santander with the U.S. national team against Spain. It was a 10:30 kickoff.
Local
10:30, whatever, 10:37 or however they do it with the TV stuff, local time. We weren't back to our hotel until, the game's finishing at 12:30 in the morning, and it's something that takes some adjusting.
A substitution coming here. The first of Dave Brandt's professional career, you have to say. Dwayne Ewart coming off. And it looks like James Bisou is going to be the one checking on in place of him. And we'll see. Formation-wise, we don't really know exactly what Coach Brandt plans on doing because we've never seen him coach these players. But Heath Bisou coming on here out of Ghana, 24 years old, started the last game and has 3 appearances so far this year.
I played with James in Montreal, actually, for a short time. He spent a short time with the team. He didn't get any matches, but trained with him every day. He's a center midfield type, comfortable on the ball, likes to spray the ball around, likes to play the technical side of the game. So hopefully he can start trying to connect some of these pieces together for Pittsburgh.
Bisou, as a young player, floated around a lot, spent time in Ghana, went to Israel, back to Ghana, and like you said, was signed by Montreal, never really planning to play him that year because they didn't get the international certificate, really just so that he could be a part of the program. Eventually found his way to Pittsburgh after all of that experience. You look at some of the guys throughout the world of soccer, and there are these crazy journeys from country to country, at times with no contract, at times playing as a full-time player all the time. It's really tough for a lot of these guys to just find any continuity in the sport.
So many things have to happen for players when they go on trial somewhere. And then say you do have a good trial and you do start with a team. You're so far from everything you ever knew, the comforts of home. There's so many adjustments that need to be made that I have the utmost respect for these journeymen that cover the globe looking for opportunities and playing in different countries that are so different culturally and learning new languages and really being outside of their comfort zones. It's quite difficult.
You saw John Wolenek there. He's a guy, struggled as a professional when he first came in. Was cut by the New York Metro Stars at the time, spent time with the Rochester Rhinos, and ended up back in the Chicago Fire and back here at home, eventually starting an MLS Cup final for New York Red Bulls in 2008, and now a coach with this team. And a great example for these young players of the different curves that a journey can take. There's not a straight line, and there's also not just one destination that you're trying to get to.
At that time, it was even harder, right? Now you have so many more outlets and opportunities that if you don't make it on one team or if you don't have the opportunity on one team, that shouldn't discourage you. You shouldn't feel like there's nowhere to go. There's so many places to go, and everybody's watching now, right? You can watch everything everywhere, and so you can always scout players.
You could actually watch every USL matchup free live and in HD on the USL YouTube channel as Bonomo attacks that header, but is fouled. New York Red Bulls soon next home match is against Wilmington. As you see the replay of that free kick. Have chances back and forth. You have to say the better of the chances, though, here in the opening 20 minutes of the second half have gone to Pittsburgh, performing well here on the road under a new coach.
They've gone well. They've come out this second half much better than they did in the first half. And if I'm that coach, I'm pretty confident that I'm starting to understand my players. I'm starting to understand what might motivate them, how to get under their skin and deliver a message. And it seems like, at least after halftime, something was well understood.
Pittsburgh will host Charleston Battery next week, June 4th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Highmark Stadium. So for all Pittsburgh fans watching, make sure to go out, get your tickets, and get there. Highmark Stadium, one of the jewels of USL, sitting right there on the banks of the river. So crossing opportunity was out there. Conrad Pleva slides in, wins the ball, and is saying that it went off of Mural. It goes out for a Pittsburgh throw, and you see Coach Brandt right down there on the sideline clapping his hands. He said he wants to play an up-tempo, attacking style, but it'll take time for that to implement. Said he got a text really out of the blue last week to talk with the ownership group about potentially taking over. He interviewed and got late into the process a year or two ago when they were looking for a head coach originally and ended up deciding it wasn't the time to leave Navy. Took advantage of the opportunity this time, his first professional soccer coaching opportunity.
It's always nice to get a text like that, right? It'd be a dream to take that next step forward and to be so close at one point and then really get that opportunity is a testament to his success at the collegiate level.
Bonomo able to keep possession. As Williams knocks that ball out of bounds. We forgot to mention out of halftime, Czech Umbai coming in at left back for New York Red Bulls 2 in place of Justin Bilyeu, another guy who did a full warm-up and was ready to go for the game before this as well as this one. As Bonomo brings this ball down, has two options outside of him, and Sampara making the run down the right side was the player he tried to go for, but was not able to link up with his teammate. Stefano Bonomo leading the line here tonight in place of Anatol Abong or Brandon Allen, who's done it for most of the season. Don't forget to become a fan of the USL on Facebook for exclusive league news and interactive content. You can also follow at USL on Twitter to keep up with all of the live action during the 2016 USL season. It's going to be a special season. It has been one so far. Jack McBeam leading the goal-scoring charts with 9 for Los Dos out in LA. And Vancouver Whitecaps FC2, the lone undefeated team remaining as they continue to plug along out in the Western Conference. Louisville City FC in first place in the Eastern Conference. FC Cincinnati consistently bringing in about 20,000 fans a game to Nypert Stadium. It has been a special early season for them. We'll see them here at Red Bull Arena later in the year in September. But, I mean, you talk about opportunities to go and play. Opportunities to go and play in front of sold-out stadiums on high-quality broadcasts in front of crazy fans. It's really special what's going on around U.S. soccer.
I love it. I think it's great. I think these new teams are coming into the league, and they're bringing fan bases that exist already. People are yearning to have local professional soccer, and they're getting behind it, and it's creating something really, really special.
New York Red Bulls 2 leading the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1-0 here at Red Bull Arena. David Goss and Heath Pierce on the call for you. Junior Flemings, the lone goal so far, scored it in the first 10 minutes. New York Red Bull 2 have held on to that lead since then, making 3 substitutions out of halftime, the 1 sub so far for Pittsburgh. Corner kick coming now. Speedy Williams will take it. Mauricio Vargas beaten on that one, but he's been clean on a lot of set-piece service. Dealt with 5 corner kicks and 9 free kicks in the first half. Hasn't gotten that much easier here in the second half. Zuana Simpara, Zach Carroll, and Czech Umbai options in the box. A little bit of height. Ball played in. Vargas comes out and punches. Punches it all the way to the other side of the field. It'll roll out for a New York throw-in now, as Dan Metzger watches that one. Out over the end line, and Conrad Pleva will step up. Pleva served in the ball for Flemings' game winner at FC Montreal last weekend to take a 1-0 win. This one's cleared into the middle of the box, and Sergio Campbell beating his compatriot Speedy Williams to that one. Campbell now, who took a knock in the late in the first half, but seems to be okay to continue. It looks like Corey Herzog and Kevin Kerr have been the two that have pushed forward in place of Uart. Herzog, we mentioned, a great goal-scoring record when he's been able to get time. When he was here in New York, he went on loan at Wilmington, scored 9 goals in 17 appearances. On loan with the Wilmington Hammerheads. This one's played through for Simpara. Campbell in a foot race. Simpara, and just a little bit too much contact, gets called for the foul.
It's a little bit of an extension of his arm there. I thought for a second he was going to get behind, but it's a great recovery from Campbell and put out that fire.
And you could see step for step those two, the explosion from Sergio Campbell. Look at the speed as he gets up to top speed, blows right by Simpara, showing you his athleticism. He was on the preliminary 40-man roster for Jamaica's Copa America. Did not make the final cut. Junior Flemings as well was on that 40-man roster. We already mentioned Derek Etienne Jr. not here today, as Noah Powder gets taken down. The step over, able to pull Kerr into the foul. Talked a little bit about his ability on the ball. We saw it there.
That was a nice little play there to draw the foul. I haven't seen as much of Noah Powder as I would have liked tonight so far. I've seen a few little glimpses, but I'd like to see him get more involved. You can tell he's more comfortable facing up the field, which plays into the fact that I think he should be a left back. Doesn't have to play with his back to the field. But that's a nice little play right there, and hopefully he'll build on that and show some more flashes of brilliance in the next 20 minutes.
Speedy Williams plays it high to Fleming's head. Now Powder gets the shot, takes the strike, and Vargas pushes it wide as the Heath Pierce favorite almost gets his first career professional goal.
I feel like maybe he's got mic'd up down there and can hear my motivational speeches, but it's a great hit there. Willingness to take that chance. Solid volley. Sets it up, great first touch on the half volley. Forces a big save from the keeper. Could have been a nice goal.
Now it will be Powder who will take this corner kick, his first of the game at the near post. Almost gets the assist as Simpara puts the header right on Vargas's hand. So after saying he'd like to see more, an eventful 30 seconds for Noah Powder.
He's doing it, and he got that corner kick over the first man, and it created a big opportunity straight into the hands of the keeper, but it's a great corner kick.
Safe hands of Vargas, as they have been all game. Nike's a proud partner of the USL. Follow at Nike Soccer on Twitter for all the latest Nike Soccer information, or you can go to nike.com/soccer. Kevin Kerr, who's the man who's supposed to pull the strings, 10 goals, 9 assists last season, linking up with Rob Vincent, one of the most successful duels in USL history. Just hasn't had the opportunities this year. Actually, Rob Vincent will be back with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds for that June 4th match. He'll be on loan from DC United as they are on a Copa America break in Major League Soccer. So one last chance to come back. But you see a dynamic duo like that. Two guys who are so symbiotic in the way they play. And then to lose half of that, it's been tough for Kevin Kerr to adjust to the players around him.
For a few years,
Herzog now with the chance to shoot as he gets called offside.
For a few years, they had some really good players. They were a really entertaining team to watch. They had another guy, Matthew Dahlman, who a few years back led the league in assists. And they were really entertaining and very well connected. And they actually kept a strong core of players together. And when those types of changes happen, for a guy like Kevin Kerr, he's got to refine his game and really find ways that he can help the team if he's not putting up those goals and assists.
So David Najem will make his home New York Red Bulls debut, coming on in place of Stefano Bonomo. Najem out of Columbia University, spent some time overseas over the last year, as he's been looking to find his feet professionally, but a New York Red Bull Academy player. His brother as well is a New York Red Bull Academy player. And Najem now back in his home state of New Jersey, getting an opportunity to get a little bit of a professional career. Talk about overseas. Kevin Kerr, a Scottishman originally, but grew up in Germany, playing and ended up signing a professional contract with a team that I can't pronounce.
Arminia Bielefeld.
And you actually happen to know him in his time over there in Germany.
I do. Actually, Matt Dahlman, who used to play for Pittsburgh, brought Kevin Kerr over with himself. They were both playing in Germany together, actually. And he was a friend that I grew up with. And when I had my contract in Rostock had just ended, I was waiting to see. I was kind of on a short little vacation, waiting to see what was going to happen next. I spent some time with Kevin and then ended up staying at his house for a couple weeks and got to know his family. And Kevin, at that point, he was just about to break into the first team. He'd already made an appearance but hadn't broken into the second Bundesliga at that point. And actually had an opportunity as well to join the Montreal Impact in their year before joining MLS, when they were trying to build out some core guys that could make that transition to the MLS season. Ultimately turned it down, but has now found his way to Pittsburgh, where he put up 10 goals and 9 assists last year. So.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the Kerrs, who are clearly awake at what I'm sure must be 5:30 in the morning watching?
I miss the breakfast they used to cook. They'd make these rolls with bacon stuffed inside. It was delicious, but they were a great family. They took care of me like I was one of their own, so nothing but great things to say.
How could you not, with such a charming Californian young man? Heath Pierce, alongside myself, David Goss, here on the New York Red Bulls 2 broadcast on NewYorkRedBulls.com. All USL matches are available live, free, and in HD on YouTube. Follow the action on the USL YouTube channel. And don't forget to go to NewYorkRedBulls.com or USLSoccer.com for all of your USL updates throughout the season. New York Red Bulls 2, actually not the last game of the night, but the last game by far on the East Coast, as there are still a couple of West Coast games going on this evening. Sacramento and Swope Park Rangers and Arizona United LA Galaxy 2 still in action. Orlando City B knocked off the Charlotte Independence 2-1. Louisville City FC remained in first place with a 2-0 victory over the Charleston Battery. FC Cincinnati stayed in second place with a 2-0 win over Harrisburg City. And FC Montreal got their first win of the season in a 2-1 win over Richmond Kickers earlier this afternoon. And it'll be a free kick in favor of Pittsburgh.
This might be the first time that I go against the referee's call. Noah Powder ran through that and at normal body height, and Sergio Campbell went right through him. I don't know if it was his foot or his knee or something, but he went hard, studs up it looked like, and then gave a foul against Noah Powder for putting his face into Campbell's foot.
It's a dangerous place to put your face. Noah Powder down on the field. An opportunity for the two teams to get a little bit of water here. As I mentioned, 82 degrees and humid as we approach that midnight ding of the clock. Vargas plays this one long. It's headed away by Pleva. Conrad Pleva, the all-time minutes leader in New York Red Bulls 2 history. The New York Red Bulls Academy, played for 4 years at Seton Hall. As you see the replay here on that foul. Noah Powder with the foul going against him there.
I honestly don't know what the referee saw there to call a foul on Noah Powder, who was trying to bring it down and got a foot to the face.
The call made by our head official, Christopher Spivey. His two assistants, Henrik Carlson and Zeno Choi. The fourth official, Luis Arroyo. So if you want to take up your complaints, it could be with one of them, as Ryan Mira is able to cleanly handle that one. Made a huge save on Corey Herzog earlier in this half. Otherwise hasn't had a lot of work to do so far in this matchup.
I find that's sometimes an even bigger challenge. Goalkeepers who get action all the time, they stay ready, they stay confident, they stay engaged. But when you have these long periods without having to make big plays, I feel like it's an even bigger challenge, right? To stay engaged in the game. So when somebody does let a shot go like that, are your feet set? Are you ready to make that save? And he's been handling those so far, even though there's been large gaps in between those opportunities.
Pittsburgh Riverhounds working the ball around the field. They have been much more positive offensively here in the second half. Searching for the equalizer. New York Red Bulls 2, currently in third place in the Eastern Conference, looking for a home win. Just 1-1-3 in this building, 4-0 on the road. Junior Flemings on the ball has given them the lead so far after giving them the win last week. Can he make that lead just a little bit larger? He slips as he squares up Campbell, and eventually Pittsburgh able to take the ball away. Very well defended, though, by Sergio Campbell.
Very well defended. What I like, though, about Junior Flemings is his willingness to just go at guys. He reminds me of a Dane Richards who used to play here in New York, of just put his head down and go, and had this confidence that he could get past everyone. And sometimes that frustrates people, but when he does get behind them, when he does finish that ball off, everybody loves him. So I like that willingness and that belief that he can get behind the back line.
Green with the long ball, easily taken by Pleva as we enter the last 10 minutes of this one. New York Red Bulls 2 hanging on to this 1-0 lead. They're going to move into second place in the Eastern Conference. It's been a flying start for them. They were the last undefeated team in the Eastern Conference. Pleva will throw it in. His second USL Team of the Week award in his career, as Powder looks to flip that one on. Moloto's had a quiet game, as is Corey Herzog. Czech Umbai making the run up from the left back position. Now Flemings once again on the ball, collides with Russell. Those two in a battle. Flemings able to keep possession. Junior Flemings doing some good work down there on that far wing. Gets it towards the feet of Simpara, and it's finally cleared by Pittsburgh. Great perseverance, though. You just talked about Flemings' willingness to take guys one-on-one. Did not give up on that play. Simpara with the back heel. Now plenty of time for Najem. Zach Carroll now in his second start with New York Red Bulls 2 after his return. And we have a substitution coming for Pittsburgh. So it looks like Stephen Okai's night is done. And coming in is Zach Boggs, 29-year-old at the University of Central Florida and South Florida. Was the 31st pick by the New England Revolution in 2010. Spent 3 years with the Revs before retiring from soccer. As a ball's played in here, Fleming's looking for his second goal of the game, and it's deflected by Campbell out for a corner kick. Zach Boggs retired from soccer to accept a Fulbright scholarship to go and do medical research with Leicester University. And he has now returned to soccer, playing some time in Tampa Bay, and now here with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Noah Powder will put in the left-footed service here. Hit to the far post, won by New York, like Aaron Long, to the hands of Vargas. Vargas looks to go quickly long. Zach Boggs making his presence felt immediately. He was a striker as well as an attacking mid and left midfielder in college in the beginning of his career, but you gotta love that start and that energy coming off the bench from Boggs.
He draws a foul there, but you want that spark from your guy coming off the bench. You want him to elevate the team, elevate the team's energy levels. It's warm out here. It's humid. And here on the replay, you can see comes from behind. Isn't the worst challenge in the world. Does get the ball, but definitely is little studs up there and going in a little bit too physical. But this is the type of energy you want, right? You want those guys to come on the field and have an instant impact, knowing that there's just less than 10 minutes left in the game. Who's going to step up to the challenge and guide this team, hopefully, to a goal to get a point or even 3 points?
And with this stoppage, we got to take a minute to thank the actual all-stars from today, Paul Hawkins and his entire production crew. They got here hours and hours and hours ago to set up for a 7 p.m. kickoff for Major League Soccer. And then within the 1 hour between the end of that game and the beginning of this game, they were able to turn it around, put together our fantastic production, put up the necessary cameras, and do all the work. Besides the fact that they've been outside in this heat for what must amount to at least 7-8 hours, and then they had to listen to us talk for the last 2 hours of it, which is that's not fair. So we thank all of them. We believe that we have the best broadcast in the league, and it is purely down to them and their team, and it has been a fantastic one so far, and we thank them so much, to the true MVPs of this afternoon. 85th minute, New York Red Bulls 2 leading 1-0 over the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. It looks like Speedy Williams will be ready to continue in just a moment. Can New York Red Bulls 2 finally close out a home win? 1-1-3 here on this ground. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds are looking for what would be actually back-to-back victories. Only one win so far. It came last week at home against TFC 2. If they could find a way all the way back with just under 5 minutes of regular time plus stoppage time left to play. Conrad Pleva in no hurry. Don't forget the next home game, Thursday, June 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time here at Red Bull Arena, New York Red Bulls 2, hosting the Harrisburg City Islanders, a couple of former NYRB 2 players, Colin Heffron and Jamie Thomas on that team. So Harrisburg City comes to town. Richmond Kickers got a goal in this time, last game, home game. What can New York do to avoid that same situation?
They got to understand that 1-0 and 2-0, it makes no difference, right? You're already winning. You don't need more goals. If they're going to gift you one, of course you take it, but discipline, defensive discipline. Don't allow them to spring out on the counter. Don't allow them to get comfortable.
Junior Flemings gets in on the left side here, looks for the feet of Powder and just can't hit his pass. Was sprung there by David Najem, though. A great ball from him.
It's a great ball, but for them to see out this game, they just have to, what they're doing right now, keeping possession, that's great. If the team starts to read it, don't be afraid to drop that ball in the corner and force your forwards to high press, plug them in, and really win the game the ugly way. And you have to be able to do that both home and on the road. They've been able to do it on the road so far this year, but at home, they're going to have to be able to play that same way for the final minutes.
Campbell looking for options in front of himself. It's intercepted by Williams and then laid off by Powder. Boggs looks to close down Pleva. He puts it in the corner towards Simpara, and Simpara takes down Murrell. And it goes out for a New York Red Bull 2 throw-in, as they are in no rush to take it. New York Red Bull 2 can hold on. They'd move to 6-1-3 on the season. Pittsburgh Riverhounds would drop to 1-5-3 on the season. As I mentioned, these were both playoff teams last year. The Riverhounds falling here at Red Bull Arena 4-2 in the playoffs. That one's intercepted by Williams. Now Umbai moves forward. Simpara looks to lay it off. Umbai makes the run all the way from left back, and he misses on the shot. Offsides was whistled, and Heath, you're upset, and I know why. Noah Powder was offside. It looked like Umbai was onside, but the offside was still made.
Umbai was definitely onside. It's just up to the fact that did Noah Powder's actions cause the back line to stop, right? Did he prevent them from playing naturally?
Did he affect the play?
Did he affect the play, correct. And it's a tough call, but it was a nice little touch, by the way.
Yeah, Simpara has shown a few flicks, back heels, different creative ways to open up his teammates. As he now gets the ball here from Pleva. We saw the New York Red Bull fans out in force, enjoying this doubleheader. Mauricio Vargas will play this ball up. You see maybe the next generation of Red Bull players and NYRB2 players out there in the crowd. Flemings is onside here. He's on his horse. Willie Hunt looking to close him down. Flemings goes, buys him with the touch, and it's inches wide of the far post, and it goes out for a goal kick. Junior Flemings, the lone goal so far in this game, and he has been electric throughout this 90 minutes.
He's pacey, he's ambitious, gets behind the back line, takes that last touch that looks like it might have been a little too much, but he's so quick, he gets on the end of it and just plays that ball just wide of the post.
Tim Schmoll, the 6'6", mountain of a man out of Switzerland and Harvard University, is coming on in place of Noah Powder. We talked about Noah Powder as a fullback. What did you think about his 90 minutes as a winger?
He had some flashes. He's young. He needs games, and he needs to go through these types and even be subbed out, know what it's like where he's stopping and thinking, what could I have done more in this game to prevent being subbed out late? What could I have offered my team so that I can play out the 90 minutes? What can I contribute? And I think he's going to learn from these types of things. But I was expecting a little bit more over the almost 90 minutes from him.
I'll have to deal with the lack of satisfaction from Heath Pierce when he gets home. This afternoon, of course, this evening, because it's 11:45 at night. Of course, in USL, 5 substitutions per team in 90 minutes. As Zach Boggs looks for an opening, he gets thrown down by Simpara. An unnecessary foul as we have entered stoppage time now. We've yet to been shown how much time there will be. So we have a substitution coming. Isaiah Schaefer is going to come on for Drew Russell in these last few minutes. Russell, a great performance from right back, you'd have to say. Put in that cross, had an opportunity himself. He gets taken out for an attacking player in these last few minutes.
Yeah, had that opportunity on the back post that he should have made more of. Put in a great ball to Herzog in the first half that should have leveled this game to 1-1.
Pittsburgh's had their opportunities after New York took the early lead. The 8th-minute goal from Junior Flemings off the assist from Brandon Allen. And that's the difference so far in this one. Can Pittsburgh get a late equalizer, though, and break New York hearts? The cross comes in. It's alive on the top of the box and finally cleared out for a Riverhounds throw-in on the far side as the last substitution's made here by Pittsburgh. Connor Branson's going to come on in place of Sergio Campbell. And it looks like they'll push even more numbers forward. There's not much time left. Long throw coming here for the Riverhounds. They're 2 minutes into stoppage time. Looked like maybe a little bit of a slip on the throw. And now Pittsburgh will try and restart the attack, but Simpara is able to get to the ball first. Green closes it down all the way back to the feet of Vargas. Pittsburgh's not able to guide that ball out. It stays alive. Schmoll gets there first. Simpara now on the ball. Speedy Williams has an opportunity to take a few seconds out of the game, and then he misses his pass, and it goes straight to Vargas's feet as Coach Brandt cheers his team along. His first game as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, going on the road to the team that knocked them off just weeks ago and last year in the playoffs. Pittsburgh Riverhounds sitting down 1-0, 2.5 minutes into stoppage time here, trying to find a late equalizer. New York in no rush to play this one. New York Red Bulls 2 will move into second place in the Eastern Conference if they can hold on to this one, and that is the final whistle. So New York Red Bulls 2 move to 6-1-3. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds fall to 1-5-3. And Heath, you talked about that tenacity, taking the road mentality and coming home. An early 8th-minute goal, and New York Red Bulls 2 are able to find a way this week to hang on and get a 1-0 win.
Yeah, Pittsburgh came out strong in the second half, and they really put the Red Bull 2s under pressure, and I think they handled it well. They showed some maturity. They showed that they've learned from that last match where they gave up that last-minute goal. They showed that they're learning from these mistakes, and that's exactly what you want if you're a head coach, to go through these ebbs and flows of a season, to be able to respond accordingly and not give up late goals.
And let's look at the highlights, and it was the early goal. Junior Flemings, his 3rd of the season, back-to-back game winners now for him in 2 straight games.
Fantastic first touch, gets out in front, knows where the goal is, tucks it into that side netting, celebrates with his teammates.
Junior Flemings was the star of the game throughout, but Corey Herzog had 2 huge opportunities for Pittsburgh to equalize, and he couldn't find a way to put either of them home.
You spoke about how Ryan Mara hadn't had a whole lot of action, but he came up big when he had to, made the big play there, and then makes a second save by just staying big and doing his job.
New York had a few looks against the run of play, you'd have to say, at times in the second half. Noah Powder, still not a full professional, out of the New York Red Bulls Academy, blasts that shot, and it's saved by Vargas. And that was the last opportunity of the game. Well, for Heath Pierce, for Paul Hawkins, for David Goss, and everyone else a part of this broadcast, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you're in New York, come out June 9th at 7 p.m. New York Red Bulls 2, hosting the Harrisburg City Islanders. New York Red Bulls 2 get a 1-0 win in Coach Brandt's first ever game for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and they move to 2nd place in the Eastern Conference. For everyone here at New York Red Bulls, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and have a great night.